Thank you for my introduction. So, good morning, everyone. Today, I would like to talk about my research, focus on the bacteria that isolated from the cow with the mastitis on a large-scale dairy farm. So, first of all, bovine mastitis is an inflammation of the mammary gland, usually as a result of the bacterial infection. The mastitis is the more prevalent and costly disease in the dairy industry. The bacteriological diagnosis are often used as a diagnostic tool to solve the mastitis problem. The knowledge of the infectious agent can be used for the treatment plan and determine the herd status that can be helpful for the prevention and control of the mastitis in the farm. Nowadays, there are the increasing number of the large-scale dairy farms, those with a cow with more than 500 cows, which have the most economic efficiency. So the distribution of the bacteria in the large farm may be different among the regions and individual for each farm. So to fill in this gap, the study of the bacteria from a single dairy herd farm from a large scale could be used to devise the mastitis controlling program. So the objective of this study is to study the dynamics of the bacteria isolated from the cow with the mastitis from a large-scale dairy farm, and to detect the antimicrobial resistant bacteria and analyze them by the molecular epidemiological techniques. So the large-scale dairy farm that we use to conduct in this study is from the Kyushu area in Japan. As in the picture map, it's the southern part of the Japan. So for the material method, the sample was collected from a dairy farm in Kyushu area with approximately 2,000 milking cows. The quarter mills of the mastitis and the subclinical mastitis that positive for PL tester were collected. This picture shows the PL tester is a modified California mastitis test that we use in Japan. The sample was collected from the 2016 from August to 2017 July. All the samples were 1,549 milk samples that were included in this study. For the bacterial isolation, a bacteria were isolated from the milk sample were placed on the selective and non-selective agar, including the egg yolk mannitol cell agar, the chrome agar orientations, the host bud agar, and the plate cow agar. The number of the bacteria were recorded, and all of the suspected colonies were identified by using the multi-biotyper system. So all the bacteria were identified at the species level. And next, all of the identified colonies were tested by the test for antimicrobial sensitivity test by the diffusion method. The antibiotic that's used in this study were selected based on the report from a veterinarian at the farms. Furthermore, we focus on the antimicrobial resistant bacteria. We focus on the methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus and the extended spectrum beta-lactamase producing bacteria. First, we detection the MRSA bacteria by using the PCR detection of the MAC genes from the Staphylococcus aureus isolated in this study. And for the ESBL producing bacteria, we focus on the E. coli and the Klebsiella pneumoniae isolate that were tested by the double synergy test. And the positive strain will isolate and identify the beta-lactamase gene by the PCR. And furthermore, we perform the molecular epidemiological analysis of the resistant bacteria by using the random amplified polymorphic DNA PCR. This study will focus on the ESBL producing bacteria, the recurrent metastasis of the Klebsiella pneumoniae, and the serotype mesences isolate. And this is the result. From the 1 year of the investigation, these are the list of the bacteria that have reported in the number of the isolate. The most prevalent of the group of bacteria is the coagulate negative Staphylococcus group. The reason that why the coagulate negative Staphylococcus group is the highest number because in the method that we count the colony, all of the different species of the CSN group were counted. So this may be the reason why this number is high. Followed by the Escherichia coli, Klebsiella pneumoniae, Streptococcus dysgalactiae, Staphylococcus aureus, and in last is the serotype mesences. And this is the report when the chain is a domino bacteria isolated from the mastitis for 1 year of the investigation. As we know that most of the E. coli and the coagulate negative Staphylococcus group is increased in the summer due to the effect by the seasons. And interestingly, they have increased the number of the bacteria of the Streptococcus dysgalacticae and the Klebsiella pneumoniae in the winters. And this table shows the antimicrobial resistance of the bacteria isolated from the cow with the mastitis. Most of the bacteria will respond to the antibiotic that's used in this farm. However, this result point out the high number of the Klebsiella pneumoniae that resistant to the ampicillins. And we also observe that the serotyphoid have the high number of the resistant bacteria. So from the result, we further investigate the antimicrobial resistant bacteria. First of all, we couldn't detect the MAC-A gene from all of the isolated Staphylococcus aureus in our studies. However, for the ESBL producing bacteria, from the selected strain 137 strain, the 43 strain were positive for the double distinct test. So we further identification of the beta-lactamase genes and report in the genotypes. For the E. coli, they are the CTX-M15 and TM genotypes, while all of the Klebsiella pneumoniae is the CTX-M2 and TM116 genotype with the variation of the SH3 genes. This result point out that there are no transmission of the plasmid between the E. coli and Klebsiella pneumoniae. And this slide shows the UPGN dendrogram clustering the 21 of the ESBL producing E. coli in this study. The ARPD pattern shows that there are no predominant predominant strain in this study, even though the cow number 10147 has been isolated, the E. coli, but they have a slightly different RAPD pattern. And next is the UPGM dendrogram clustering the 22 ESBL producing Klebsiella pneumoniae. First, I would like to discuss about the isolate from the cow number 11337. The first isolate was clustered in the cluster 1, while the second and third isolate were clustered in the cluster 4. This shows the different pattern when we collected from the same cow. And next is the same RAPD pattern from the isolate from the cow number 10141. And the most interestingly is when we see the identical pattern from the cow number 11330 and the cow number 11379. This shows quite a long period of infection of the Klebsiella pneumoniae that we found in this study. So these results show that the Klebsiella pneumoniae can infect it for more than 3 weeks. So we focus on that, the long period of the infection of the Klebsiella pneumoniae. So we further select the 22 Klebsiella pneumoniae isolate from the fatally cow that have the recurrent mastitis. Most of the results show that each cluster is from each cow with some minor difference. But the most interesting thing is we found that the longest period of the Klebsiella pneumoniae infection can be infected on the same cow for the 5 months. And also the infection can be infected to the another of the cow too. These results suggest that the infection of the Klebsiella pneumoniae is mostly limited on the cow, but however, they can have a long period of infection. And lastly, we studied the UPGN dendrogram, clustering 24 random mice of the serotype isolate. This also shows there are no predominant strain for the serotype. Only 2 isolates that have shared the same RAPD patterns, and 4 isolates from 2 cows that have a different RAPD pattern. For conclusions, the predominant strain bacteria isolated from the mastitis in our study were the E. coli, Klebsiella pneumoniae, Streptococcus dysgalacticae, and Staphylococcus aureus, and serotype. No MAC-A gene was detected from the Staphylococcus aureus in our study, and this farm showed a quite high prevalence of the ES-producing bacteria. And ESBL-producing E. coli and Klebsiella pneumoniae isolate in this farm show the polyclonal populations. Epidemiological data show that not only a single clone, but also multiple clones of the Klebsiella pneumoniae may cause a recurrent mastitis in the same individual and can cause a long period of infection too. Thank you for your attention.